All right, guys, Sam back with you here on Thursday, November 8th, and finishing up here our traditionals. Again, we always come from the members, not me. I never pick them. This is by request to look an update on Crude. Now, we had looked at this 10 days ago, maybe a little bit longer here, and we had this very technical pivot up here. Now, I've got a Gann square on this, which was helping us identify. So we had the range here, and then we had this confluence up at this technical level here. So we had an expansion target here as we hit the center line. Here we are at a 45-degree angle. All right, so we've got our 1-by-1 tagging. We tagged the price right as we hit 100% of this initial expansion. Note here that we went. Where's my tool? So we went here. Here was our initial move. That's what we're basing the expansion off of because of this perfect tag of the 50. So that suggests that that's the range. So we get this, tag the 50, a brief pause here at the minus 50, but a perfect tag at the minus 100, an exact doubling of the range. So that's how we use the Gann square here to put that. So if I take that off, you can see here's the Gann square, right? And then here's the tag. So just it's not for everybody, and there are some problems with TradingView in that you have to have that scale locked, and you've got to check the angle. It's not perfect, right? But it's all right. So they're demonstrating it can be useful. So this is kind of an interesting. So that we've got this very clear. Let's see. I can unlock the range now. So we've got a very, very clear impulsive strike. Notice I'm on a daily here, so I've got a very clear 5 down, and it would appear I've just done 3 to correct this. So it looks like this actually looks to me like we did, because of what we saw in that range, it looks like this is, we went here and we put in the B here and then went up for the C. Now, I could be wrong, but because that was the technical level and this was a perfect 50, I think this is an A, B, C of the B before we go down for the C. I could be wrong, and I'm sure some of my Elliott purists will scold me for that, but I think that looks better to me here in terms, because we don't get if this is A and this were B, I've got 3 here into an A. It looks more to me like that's the B before going down to the C of the B. So this would be it's, Elliott stuff. This would be the correction there. All right, so that at this point, I don't know that it matters, but that's how I was counting it based off of this being the technical level. So now if we look at that and say, all right, well, shit, okay, why'd we stop here? So we can certainly take the start of that whole move and pull it down here and say, get it right there. Well, kind of in between. So maybe you got that pivot here. That certainly is a probable zone here that we bumped into that resistance, a slight front run on the 618 on the golden zone. Very possible. That's a little bit tough, right? So the reaction from this, and again with the wolf range here, so you have a combination of, so look here. So you can see it this way. So whether I use the wolf range or whether I just use traditional measured moves, so I take the length of this swing, here's my 50, here's an exact minus 100. Now we do know that as that relates to a fib target, if we grab this one and we project here and then I pull it over. So because we tag at the 50, not the 618, here's the 161. I know that's getting hard to see. So here's the zone that you might have been looking for if you were anticipating that we were going 1, 1, 2, and you thought this was going to be 1, 2, and we're going again, but it doesn't play that way. This is too funky. It's tough to pull this out as A, B, C. It doesn't work as well. We've got very clean 5 into that, so it looks like it's more corrective, and then that price action, that's a massive move down. So let's break into that, see if we can make any sense of what we have here on the assumption now that this is corrective and it's complete. So this ABC, regardless of where the B is in here, this swing high to swing low, this ABC here is correcting it. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it was modified shift caught it. As I recall, was it shift or modified shift? Must have been modified. So, you'd have to experiment a little bit with this and see which plays better. I think this plays better, just like I thought that. So even if I come back here, right? So you got your hit here. So you got your corner pocket to that target. And this is a little bit of trial and error as to what frames the market best. So if we're going to break this lower channel, that would suggest more down here. So let me pull that off. All right, so let's go from our daily. Let's try 2 hours, see what that looks like. This is a little tricky coming down here. Let me open this up. So this is either you love it or you hate it, right? So this is where the Elliott, either you find the restrictive nature of applying the rule set a pain in your ass, or it's something that as I would propose to you, if you know how to use it, it can keep you out of trouble, and it forces you to consistently rethink what you think is happening or what you see happening based on that rule set. So this is the count that I think we've got here, which is we've had an extension here in the third. So because we get this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it's hard to argue with that as anything other than the 1. I've got a nice clean, now granted I'm on a 2 hour here, but I'm sure you can see that. We've got a little 1, 2, here's the impulse, 3, 4, down we come. So I've got a solid 1. Then I get a technical. This is the only retracement that gives me something close to a 50. Everything else would be too shallow. So I get between the 50 and the 618. Great, down we go. So I blow past the first one, get to second target. But then if we start measuring, this doesn't play as well as 1, 2, 3, because if that was 3, then we'd have one hell of an extension. So it looks like we go 1, 2. Now I need to get, if this is the 2, before I hit my 3, I've got to get an impulse. So let me raise this here. That can be confusing. Let me go to minuet here so you get the context. Okay, so 1, 2. All right, now I got to get an impulse. If I think this is corrective here, so this being the C, and we have a trend change here, we've now corrected that impulse that took us up. This is the correction that took us to that. Remember, we were just a little shy of that 618. This was the structural resistance. Well, if we're going 1, 2, well, I can't go 3, 4. So it's got to be 1, 2. And then yet again, if that's 1, 2, then I've got to get I've got to get an impulse within that 3. So you see the larger degree here now suggests that because I need that impulse in each of those 3s, and if I'm going to finish here, in each of those thirds, I should say here. So this impulse is here. So from here I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's from this 2 to give me that impulse that I need. And it's on the assumption that I've got this correctly identified, and right, always the possibility I don't. But 1, 2, then I've got to get within that third, I've got to get an impulse here. So I can get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to give me the third of this degree in green. Then I get a nice little ABC into my 4, and then I've got a very clear 5 coming down, which suggests to me that all we've done is put in the third relative to the 1, 2 that's up above. So you look at that and go, well, that's a hell of an extension in the third, but there's no other way to count that. Right? So this is beyond the 2, 6, 1, 8. Right? So we're way beyond. So of that degree, so you'd be looking here at a 1, 2, massive 3, 4, 5. That's what I see. Right? Now that I could be proven wrong pretty quickly, but it is so looking for where we might anticipate the next trade opportunity on the short side. If I tag that up here, so anywhere in this zone here, if we make a deep retracement here, so this would bring us back to the 38, but really, and we've got some structure here, so you could use this, of course, not uncommon to come right back into the prior, the higher degrees, 3, 4. So even if you just drag it up that way, right? So this is the range, that this is the 3 and the 4 of the degree higher. So if we're coming back into the 4, that would be not uncommon. You could tighten it up there, so you got your Vegas wave. Look how nicely a Vegas wave contains this on the way down as well as the way up. So you've got some structure there set up to potentially offer that same resistance. Now, what immediately is problematic here is the symmetry between the 4 and the 2. So you certainly would want to see this as something you'd want to get good structure there, and then with that as a reasonable target. So it's, have at it if you can come up with a different count here, but because this is such a clean 5, it's very hard to count this as anything other than the 1, 2. But then through that subdivision, again, you either love it or you hate it, right? So it forces you to come up with this conclusion if you're going to draw this as the 1, 2. There is no other way to count that to give you those impulsive waves that you need. So what do you do with that, right? So the symmetry is a little off, right? So you can say, well, if it's not perfect, I don't trade it. Well, that's an option. I would certainly trade this here on the short side if we got this nice ABC into a 4 at that level, right? So that's an area that I would be looking for here. So let's get that just identified. And so this would be a likely zone to be looking for that target, right? But if you I count that Elliott is just bullshit, right? So you can, I understand it doesn't suit everybody. So let's see if we can do anything with the range. So if I grab that, get my wolf range on, just kind of exploring to see how I look coming down. I do like that. That's interesting here. It's all right, right? We're not tagging them exactly. So you can kind of continue looking here. So here's the first push. Now I get a little reaction here. So I would be inclined to pull here, but it's not great, right? So I'm not getting those technical pivots. I'm blowing right through them. So I'm not as comfortable with this. I'm still kind of looking. Right? It's not quite there. So why force it, right? This is the last time. So we're always looking for the first place that we get a reaction at a doubling of the range. So this is the first one. It's not great. So I would keep that off on it. So if I was splitting this into a quad, so I had four windows, I'd keep a couple of variations of this. We certainly can draw this, right? We got one hell of a tight channel coming down. So that, break of that, right? Until that breaks, no reason to be looking at anything else. So as this continues to move down here, now we don't know that we're done here, right? Do we have any divergence? Yeah, we do have a little divergence. So we've got this coming down here for lower prices, and then we look here. Let's see, come here. We've got pretty good divergence here. So we can see that. So it looks like potentially now we're we haven't done much here. So we haven't come off of that by much. So again, maybe this is the range, maybe not. Maybe there's just not enough there for us to work with yet. But right now, with this, it's a little early to be calling that low in. Although I do complete here in the 5 of what would be the 5th of the 3rd. There's a few other things we can do to help identify the probability. I can take the length of the 1 projected from the 4. Here, the proposed 4. Here's the 1, 6, 1, 8. So we're a little shy of it. We can work from the 2 to the 3. Now I would go back to a measured move here and see how we look there. So if the length of the 2 were shallow here, but we certainly qualify. We got a nice little ABC between the 23 and the 38. It's exactly where we're looking for it. But now we're 2 blow right through first, blown through second. Nothing says that we're done here. We don't have to be done. And if you look into that, let's go 30 minutes into this last little move down here. Well, maybe there's an ending diagonal getting shaped here. Nothing says we have to stop. This could certainly go lower. So maybe we can dig a diagonal out of this. I'll have to check that, see if it's long enough. Let's take that down a bit. So in a diagonal, we're always looking for a relationship. If this is the 1, 2, and we're going to go A, B, C into a 3, well, we need to be a little bit lower here. So we'd be looking for the relationship between the start of the 1 and the pivot of the 3rd. Well, we don't know where that pivot is yet. So we could do this. We could look at that 2, come down here. Are we going to get symmetry here? Here's the 100. If we don't get the 100, the 1, 2, 7, 2, or we could go 1, 6, 1, 8. Right? That would put us down here at the lower edge here. So we're not done yet. It would appear we're not done yet. Got that a little askew. So maybe we come now. This is just an ABC going in. See, coming down here. Let's get that into yellow. So those are all contenders here. There's no trade here. It's too late to sell it, too soon to buy it. Right? That's buying the knife. Right? After that, do you want to buy that? Yeah, we got a little divergence here, but at least we'd be coming down here. Here would be the minus 100. And so it's trading technically, but this is a very extended move. So you might, when in doubt, pull out to a higher time frame. And again, so what's happening here? This is a massive trend change, massive, right? So where did we go from? We'll call it 77, and where are we here now? It's 60, $17 off of Crude. That's a big move, right? So there's nothing to really latch onto here until you get some sort of a reaction. We need another pivot. We need to get this pivot here before we start any sort of retracement, because eventually this will be completion here, and we'll get a retracement. Now, is it the 4? Well, that seems most likely here as we sit here, but we don't know. I don't have the pivot down here, so drawing this 4, we don't know where that is yet, because we don't have this pivot in for sure just yet. So you might just, again, it's always a good idea to look for some sort of swing relationship. There's almost always one there, and if you can't find it, either you didn't look hard enough or it's not there yet. It's not done. So we're through these. So this potentially is going to be an area of interest. Again, just looking for that swing relationship there. Maybe that's something to eyeball. That's not going to give you that median line, because because this is higher, and it's going to be too high. So even if I go to original, you might get the corner of it, or if we get the retrace, if we come down here, eventually we're going to pivot. If we get down to this edge, so a trip back to the median line would be something to consider. If we're going to come something like this back to the median line and then head down again, that's not something I would be looking for. It's always a process of where can I find technical confluence? Where can I find some structure? What else is there? What have I not considered? What have I not looked at? What swing have I not measured? This is just going straight down. So maybe I've got to work on these larger swings looking for something technical down here. It's always a puzzle we're trying to put together. Where are the probability zones? What can I use to help me identify? Where can I find confluence? So this is a tough one here. That's Crude is not, it's not easy to trade Crude, right? It's very tricky. So this is, I'm actually got this. This is the U.S. oil. So this is something you could trade. This is the CFD. You could be trading with an FX broker. But this is, I'd want to see a more substantial pivot here and a pretty good move off of it before I looked at anything additionally on the short side. Right now we're just still in this straight move down. Nothing to suggest that we're done just yet. All right, guys, so that's pretty much what I see. Again, I'd love to give you something where there's a trade setting up. There's just nothing here. So, and again, this is, members request these. I just give them my thought process on it. I don't see a trade there just yet. So with that, I'll wrap it, and we'll got a few things that we're working on. So keep an eye on our Twitter feed if that interests you, and I'll be sure to mention them here as we get them launched. But some things we're doing to try and make it easier for you guys to get involved with us, and maybe to take a look at what we're doing and see if it's a good fit for what you're looking to do, and maybe we can help you with that. So with that, I'll wrap it, and we'll see you.